Decelerate. It can't. It can't. The frantic screams of the crew are the last sounds on the black box as an Airbus A320 hurtles toward the edge of a rain-slicked hilltop. Runway 35L at Congonhas Airport is notorious as short, treacherous strip carved into the heart of São Paulo. But as the wheels touch down, the aircraft doesn't slow down, it accelerates. 199 lives are about to be erased in a mountain of fire as the jet plunges off a cliff into a gas station. This is the horrifying story of the aircraft carrier Runway and the single lever that doomed it. The tragedy of July 17, 2007 began with a storm. São Paulo was under a winter deluge, turning the infamous Congonhas Airport into a pilot's nightmare. Congonhas is built on a plateau, surrounded by a canyon of skyscrapers. Its main runway, 35L, is less than 2,000 meters long, dangerously short for a modern jet carrying 187 people. Pilots often compare landing here to landing on an aircraft carrier. If you miss the wire, there is no room for error. The error chain was forged long before Flight 3054 left Porto Alegre. Just 1 month prior, the runway had been resurfaced to address chronic slippery conditions. However, the work was incomplete. It lacked the grooving, special channels cut into the asphalt to drain water. Without them, even a moderate rain created puddles that led to hydroplaning. Just 24 hours before the crash, another plane had spun out of control on the same strip. In the cockpit was Captain Enrique Stefanini Diaco, a veteran with over 13,000 hours. He was well aware of the airport's reputation, but he had an added complication. The right engine's thrust reverser was deactivated for maintenance. This is a common and legal configuration, but at Congonhas, in the rain, it removed a vital layer of safety. As they neared São Paulo, the crew was informed that the runway was wet and slippery. Stefanini decided to fly manually to ensure he touched down as early as possible. He was under intense time pressure and psychological stress, aiming for precision in an environment that punished the slightest deviation. He touched down perfectly at the threshold, but that decision would have been enough to destroy most people. What happened next made everything before it look minor. The moment the wheels hit the tarmac, the expert trap snapped shut. To stop an A320 with one broken reverser, the official Airbus procedure had recently been changed. The new rule was to pull both levers to idle, then apply reverse thrust to both. The computer would automatically handle the deactivated one. However, Stefanini appears to have reverted to an older, outdated technique. He pulled the left lever to reverse, but left the right lever, the one with the broken reverser, in a climb position. He thought he was buying safety by not messing with the broken engine. In reality, he was telling the plane to take off and land at the same time. If you're finding this breakdown of cockpit ergonomics and the expert trap vital, hit the subscribe button now. We analyze the invisible triggers of aviation disasters every week. The results were catastrophic. While the left engine roared in reverse to slow the plane, the right engine accelerated to full power. The aircraft was in a mechanical tug-of-war. The lopsided thrust pushed the nose violently to the left. Stefanini slammed on the foot brakes, but they were useless against the power of a jet engine at full throttle. "Look at this! Now look at this!" the first officer shouted. In the dark, high-stress environment, the crew couldn't figure out why the plane was speeding up. They were present aware of the danger, but geographically and mechanically blind to the cause. The jet streaked across the remaining runway 3 times faster than a normal landing. It used up 1,945 meters of asphalt in less than 30 seconds. She thought she had won. She had no idea what Thomas was already putting in motion. The climax of Flight 3054 was a high-speed plunge into oblivion. The A320 crossed the perimeter road, cleared the steep embankment at the end of the runway, and slammed into a TAM Express warehouse and a neighboring gas station at 110 miles per hour. The impact was a massive explosion. 10 tons of jet fuel ignited instantly, creating a fireball that burned at over 1,000 degrees Celsius. Inside the warehouse, workers were trapped behind a wall of twisted metal and fire. Dr. Douglas Ferrari, one of the first on the scene, described a mother and child dead in a car at the gas station. It was a scene of total devastation. Rescuers fought to save those in the warehouse, but the heat was so intense it began to compromise the structural integrity of the surrounding buildings. 199 people were killed, everyone on the plane, and a dozen more on the ground. It remains the deadliest crash involving an Airbus A320. The investigation by CENIPA and the NTSB had to recover data from circuit boards that had literally melted. When they finally saw the data, the smoking gun was clear. The right thrust lever had never been moved to idle. The pilots had fought the plane for 25 seconds, never realizing that their own hand placement was the reason they couldn't stop. The expert trap here was the normalization of deviance. The airline and the airport authorities knew the runway was dangerous when wet, but they kept it open to maintain the economic flow of Brazil's largest city. They traded safety margins for efficiency until the margins hit zero. But what Thomas did next, nobody saw coming. TAM Airlines Flight 3054 is one of the most influential accidents in modern aviation safety history, not only because of the loss of life, but because of how it reshaped runway design, pilot procedures, and landing safety standards across the world. On July 17, 2007, an Airbus A320 arriving from Porto Alegre landed at São Paulo's Congonhas airport during wet conditions. The aircraft was unable to stop on the shortened, heavily trafficked runway and overran the end, crashing into a cargo building. All 187 people on board and 12 people on the ground were killed, making it Brazil's deadliest aviation disaster. In training environments, pilots are repeatedly exposed to scenarios where muscle memory can lead to dangerous decisions if not actively checked. This is where the expert trap becomes especially relevant. In aviation, experience can sometimes create overconfidence in routine actions. Pilots rely heavily on procedural memory during landing, but in high-stress or degraded conditions, that same familiarity can lead to missed cues. Congonhas has demonstrated how quickly assumptions can override real-time environmental assessment. A key outcome of the investigation was a renewed focus on landing discipline. Pilots are now trained to make conservative go-around decisions if any parameter, speed, braking performance, runway condition, is uncertain. The philosophy shifted from complete the landing to only land if all safety margins are confirmed. Congonhas itself remains operational today, but with significantly reduced traffic and stricter safety oversight. Its reputation changed permanently. What was once a heavily used urban airport became a symbol of the consequences of operational pressure meeting environmental limitation. The tragedy also reinforced a broader principle in aviation safety. To see the full forensic timeline, watch this video next. It shows the true cost of hesitation.